In the pantheon of World War II aviation, few aircraft evoke as much fascination, terror, and awe as the Messerschmitt Me 163 Komet. Unlike the heavy bombers that dominated the skies or the nimble fighters that engaged in dogfights across Europe, the Me 163 was a paradox, a terrifying combination of incredible speed, radical engineering, and mortal danger. To step inside this aircraft, even in imagination, is to confront the audacity of human ingenuity and the razor-thin line between technological brilliance and catastrophic risk. The Komet wasn't just a plane. It was an idea, a desperate, daring attempt to rewrite the rules of aerial combat, a rocket-propelled streak of death designed to pierce the skies at velocities that seemed almost supernatural to the pilots of the Allied forces who tried to intercept it. And yet, behind every glance at its sleek fuselage and swept-back wings lay a story of fear, innovation, and the human cost of war. The story of the Me 163 begins with the ambitions of the Luftwaffe in the early 1940s. As the Allied bombing campaign against Germany intensified, the German High Command realized that conventional fighters were insufficient to defend against the relentless waves of Allied bombers. Propeller-driven aircraft could only climb so fast, could only reach certain altitudes before their engines strained to the limits, and even the best German aces struggled to intercept formations of B-17 Flying Fortresses and Lancaster bombers. Desperation breeds innovation, and in this case, it birthed one of the most radical fighter designs in history, a rocket-powered interceptor capable of speeds unheard of in the era, designed to climb almost vertically to bomber altitudes, unleash a deadly payload, and return to base before the enemy could even react. The Me 163 was the embodiment of Germany's technological daring, the apex of engineering ambition mingled with the chaos of wartime urgency. Ernst Heinkel and the design teams at Messerschmitt had been experimenting with rocket propulsion since the mid-1930s, but it wasn't until the efforts of Helmuth Walter, a brilliant but often overlooked engineer, that the vision for a rocket-powered fighter became tangible. Walter's innovations in liquid-fueled rocket engines allowed the Me 163 to achieve unprecedented acceleration and climb rates, enabling it to reach altitudes in mere minutes that conventional fighters took over half an hour to approach. The Komet could soar to 30,000 feet, attack, and disappear almost before the enemy had time to respond. But this incredible performance came with terrifying compromises. The fuel itself was hypergolic, meaning it would ignite on contact with other substances, and was highly corrosive. Mishandling it could result in instant death, and pilots became acutely aware that launching in the Komet was almost as dangerous as engaging the enemy. The sheer audacity of sitting inside a tiny, fragile fuselage, armed with a rocket engine that could propel you faster than any conventional aircraft, knowing that a single mistake could mean fiery death, paints a vivid portrait of courage mingled with madness. From the outside, the Me 163 was deceptively simple. Its wedge-shaped fuselage, sharply swept wings, and lack of conventional propellers betrayed its radical heart. The aircraft was astonishingly small, almost too small for the human body it carried, a reflection of both aerodynamic necessity and the constraints of rocket technology. Every curve and every surface was meticulously calculated to minimize drag and maximize speed. Pilots often described the cockpit as a confining capsule, a blend of high-tech instrumentation and Spartan practicality. Visibility was limited, comfort non-existent, but every control was there for a purpose. Even the landing gear was unconventional. There was no traditional wheeled undercarriage. Instead, the Komet launched from a detachable dolly and landed on a retractable skid. This design choice, though innovative, demanded precise handling during landing, and countless pilots learned that a botched touchdown could be as fatal as a combat sortie. Once airborne, the Me 163 was an almost mystical experience of speed and raw power. Allied pilots often described it as a blur, a streak of metallic silver that appeared from nowhere, unleashed a salvo of fire, and vanished before retaliation was possible. The Komet's climb rate was legendary. Pilots could reach 29,500 feet in under 3 minutes, and experience both exhilarating and terrifying. Unlike propeller-driven aircraft, which maintained a sense of mechanical predictability, the Komet responded instantly, violently, and sometimes unpredictably to pilot inputs. There was no gradual acceleration. There was a sudden, almost explosive thrust that pushed the human body against its restraints in ways few had experienced before. Pilots had to be exceptionally calm under pressure, their reflexes tuned to anticipate every millisecond, every surge of speed, every tremor in the airframe. In combat, the Me-163 was a predator like no other. Its primary armament consisted of powerful 30mm cannons, designed to punch through the thick armor of Allied bombers. Pilots would climb rapidly, dive onto the unsuspecting formation, fire with deadly accuracy, and then glide away, their rocket engine already spent, leaving them to navigate back to base under the constraints of gliding flight. This unusual hit-and-run tactic, combined with unparalleled speed, made the Komet both a nightmare and a fascination for Allied air forces. Entire squadrons were dedicated to intercepting the Komet, but success was rare. Its sheer velocity rendered conventional defensive measures almost useless, creating an aura of invincibility that both terrified and mystified its adversaries. Yet, the life of a Komet pilot was fraught with peril outside of combat as well. The dangers began on the ground, where the aircraft's volatile fuel mixture made fueling and maintenance operations extremely hazardous. Even a small spill could ignite instantly, and the corrosive nature of the propellants meant that metal and human flesh alike were at risk. Pilots described the process of strapping into the cockpit as a ritual, a tense, silent preparation for a flight that could end in either glory or catastrophe. And then there was the matter of landing, a process that combined human skill with a touch of fortune. Without a powered engine to control descent, pilots had to glide carefully to their airfields, often contending with crosswinds, uneven terrain, and the unforgiving mechanics of the retractable skid. Every mission was a high-wire act of engineering, human courage, and pure luck. The operational history of the Me-163 is as much a story of human bravery as it is of technological ambition. Introduced in combat during the latter stages of World War II, the Komet's presence immediately altered the dynamics of aerial warfare over Germany. Allied bomber crews spoke in hushed tones about the terrifying appearance of a silver streak against the sky, and the Luftwaffe relished the opportunity to deploy a weapon that could engage bombers at altitudes and speeds previously unimaginable. Yet, despite its remarkable performance, the Komet was not a war-winning machine. Its limited endurance, the extreme hazards of its fuel, and the difficulty of training pilots meant that it remained a niche weapon, a brilliant but flawed experiment at the edge of aeronautical possibility. Even so, the legacy of the Me-163 endures. It represents a pivotal moment in aviation history, a daring leap into rocket-powered flight that foreshadowed the space age. Engineers and pilots who worked with the Komet pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible, testing the limits of human courage and technological capability. Its lessons about speed, altitude, propulsion, and risk resonate in modern aeronautics and continue to inspire aviation enthusiasts around the world. To study the Me-163 is to study the interplay of innovation and danger, of ambition and mortality, of a machine that defied convention and left an indelible mark on history. The Me-163 Komet, in essence, is more than metal and fuel. It is a symbol of human ingenuity, of the relentless drive to conquer the skies, and of the sacrifices made in pursuit of that dream. Each flight was a testament to courage, each mission a dance with death, and each design decision a reflection of an era in which the boundaries of possibility were constantly being redefined. To understand the Komet is to step into the cockpit of history itself, to feel the weight of war, the thrill of speed, and the eternal question of how far humanity is willing to go in the name of innovation. To truly appreciate the Me-163 Komet, one must peer beyond its sleek fuselage and understand the sheer audacity of its engineering. At the heart of the Komet's revolutionary design lay the Walter HWK 109-509 rocket engine, a marvel of early rocket technology. Unlike conventional piston engines or early turbojets, this engine burned a hypergolic combination of T-stop and C-stop, a potent, highly unstable chemical mixture that ignited on contact. Pilots and ground crews alike learned that this volatile fuel was both a blessing and a curse. The raw power it provided allowed the Komet to achieve speeds exceeding 590 miles per hour in a steep climb, faster than almost any Allied fighter of the time. Yet even the slightest mishap, spilled fuel, a damaged line, or a careless spark, could result in an instant inferno. Handling the Komet required nerves of steel, meticulous discipline, and an understanding that survival was never guaranteed, even before entering combat. Aerodynamically, the Me-163 was ahead of its time. Its sharply swept wings, minimal fuselage cross-section, and emphasis on high-speed stability allowed it to slice through the air with unprecedented efficiency. Unlike conventional aircraft, the Comet relied on gliding for much of its flight profile. After exhausting its rocket fuel, the pilot became a controlled projectile, maneuvering through the skies solely on the lift generated by its compact wings. This transition from powered flight to glide demanded extraordinary skill, as speed alone could become deadly if misjudged. Many pilots recounted the sensation of flying on the knife edge of physics, where even a slight error in angle or airspeed could send the aircraft into an unrecoverable spin. The cockpit was stripped of any unnecessary instruments. Everything served one purpose: to maintain control of this extraordinary machine while managing its volatile heart. The Me-163's armament, too, was engineered with brutal efficiency. Typically equipped with two 30mm Mk108 cannons, the Comet was designed to attack bomber formations with deadly precision. In practice, a single well-aimed salvo could destroy a B-17 or Lancaster, punching through thick armor with frightening ease. Yet, the Comet's high velocity made aiming a challenge in itself. Pilots had mere seconds to line up their shots while traveling at speeds that left little room for error. Allied gunners described the experience as surreal. One moment, the sky was calm; the next, a silver streak would appear, cannons would roar, and their bombers would be ripped apart before they even had time to respond. This lethality cemented the Comet's reputation as a terror of the skies, a fleeting but unstoppable force that could strike and vanish like a ghost. The human stories behind the Me-163 are as compelling as its technical feats. Pilots were often young, sometimes barely out of their teens, chosen for their skill and courage. Their training was intense, designed to prepare them for the dual threats of enemy fire and the Comet itself. Many recounted the terror of the first climb, the sudden surge of acceleration pressing them into their seats, the roar of the rocket engine in their ears, the tiny cockpit vibrating violently as they tore through the clouds. These men lived in constant awareness of mortality. Every sortie carried the risk of death not just from combat, but from mechanical failure, pilot error, or the volatile fuel that surrounded them. Yet, there was exhilaration in this danger, a sense of being part of something unparalleled. Flying the Me-163 was more than a duty. It was a singular experience, one that etched itself into the psyche of those who dared to tame its power. One such story comes from a young pilot stationed at Brandis in 1944. On a crisp autumn morning, he took off in his Comet to intercept a formation of B-17s heading toward Leipzig. The climb was instantaneous, almost violent, with the force of the rocket engine throwing him against the seat straps. Within 3 minutes, he was above the bombers, firing a precise salvo into the formation. Flames erupted from a stricken bomber, and as the Comet raced away, he realized the magnitude of what he had just done. But the glory was fleeting. As he began his glide back to the airfield, he encountered unexpected crosswinds. The landing skid bounced violently on the runway, the aircraft nearly flipping over. By some combination of skill and luck, he managed to stop, shaken but alive. Stories like this were not rare. They were the norm for Me-163 pilots, whose every mission was a gamble between brilliance and tragedy. Combat encounters involving the Comet often read like science fiction. Allied pilots described trying to intercept it as chasing a shooting star. Traditional fighters were simply too slow, unable to match its climb rate or straight-line velocity. Tactics evolved, with some Allied pilots lying in wait at higher altitudes, anticipating its glide path after fuel depletion. Yet, even then, the Comet's gliding performance made it elusive, and many engagements ended with the aircraft disappearing into the clouds, leaving bewildered enemies below. This almost supernatural performance earned it nicknames such as Silver Lightning and Broomstick among Allied crews, acknowledgments of both its speed and the psychological terror it inflicted. Despite its ingenuity, the Me-163 was not without limitations. Its endurance was minimal, limited by the quantity of fuel it could carry. Each flight lasted near minutes under powered thrust, demanding precise timing and execution from the pilot. Mechanical failures were common, and the extreme stresses placed on the airframe during high-speed dives could lead to catastrophic structural failure. Additionally, production numbers were limited, and the complexity of its engine and fuel systems meant that the Luftwaffe could never deploy the Comet in sufficient numbers to turn the tide of the war. These limitations highlight the paradox of the aircraft. It was a technological marvel, yet its impact was constrained by the very nature of its radical design. Operational challenges extended to maintenance and fueling. Ground crews faced an almost ritualistic process of handling the volatile fuels, cleaning after every minor spill, and carefully inspecting the engine and airframe before every sortie. Any lapse could result in disaster. The human cost of these operations was significant. Accidents on the ground claimed as many lives as combat sorties. Pilots and engineers alike learned to respect the Komet's dangers, developing a meticulous culture of preparation that bordered on reverence. The aircraft demanded respect, not just from those who flew it, but from everyone who touched it. As the war drew to a close, the Me-163's story became entwined with the broader narrative of World War II's technological race. Allied forces captured examples of the Komet, dissected its design, and studied its revolutionary engine and aerodynamics. Lessons learned from the Komet influenced post-war rocket and jet development, laying the groundwork for the emerging space age. Engineers who had struggled to perfect the Komet's balance between speed, stability, and control applied these insights to future generations of aircraft and spacecraft. In this way, the Komet's legacy transcended its brief operational history, transforming from a weapon of war into a catalyst for innovation that shaped the future of flight. The cultural and historical significance of the Me-163 also endures. Aviation enthusiasts, historians, and modelers continue to study and recreate the aircraft, captivated by its unique combination of danger, elegance, and technical audacity. Books, documentaries, and even museum exhibits honor its story, preserving the memory of those who flew it and the engineering feats it represented. The Komet symbolizes the extremes of human innovation in wartime, the lengths to which necessity and ambition can drive creativity, and the risks that accompany such brilliance. It stands as a testament to the human desire to conquer the skies, a symbol of ingenuity tempered by mortality. In conclusion, the Me-163 Komet is more than an aircraft. It is a story of innovation, courage, and the relentless pursuit of speed and power. Its rocket engine, radical design, and deadly armament made it a technological marvel and a psychological weapon during World War II. The stories of its pilots, of sheer bravery, terrifying ascents, and nerve-wracking landings, reveal the human element behind the machine, a testament to the thin line between genius and disaster. Though its operational history was brief, the lessons it imparted resonate through aviation history, influencing the design of rockets, jets, and even spacecraft for decades to come. To step inside the Me-163, whether physically or in imagination, is to witness a moment where human ambition, technological daring, and the harsh realities of war intersected, producing a machine that was as beautiful as it was deadly, as inspiring as it was terrifying. The Komet's legacy is eternal. It reminds us that innovation often carries immense risk, that progress demands courage, and that even in the darkest times of human conflict, the spark of ingenuity can blaze brighter than any threat. Flying the Me-163 was a dance with death, a flirtation with the impossible, and an experience unmatched in the annals of aviation history. Its story continues to captivate, to challenge, and to inspire, inviting every generation to look to the skies and imagine what might be possible when humanity dares to push beyond the limits of convention.